And now we're getting into how to intelligently process and deliver real-time data with FME Server.
Yeah.
And so the key thing here is real-time and intelligent real-time, and we're going to jump into this thing. But who are we? Well, I'm Aaron Koning. I'm the product manager for FME Server.
I'm Stuart Harper. I'm working on the FME Cloud side of things for the past year, so driving that forward.
Excellent. And what are we doing today? Well, we're going to do this introduction thing, blow through it. Then we got a series of demos. Halfway through, we're going to do a bit of Q&A. Then we're going to do more Q&A at the end after the hour is up. And so you saw on the camera, Devet's in the back. And any questions you have, just write them in there. And he's going to be firing them away and giving you answers and bringing up some of the more important ones as we go. Safe Software, if you don't know about us, we're a company out of Vancouver, British Columbia, founded by Don Murray and Dale Lutz in 1993. And we have, what, about 100 people?
Yeah.
100 people now. And our software is used in 120 different countries. And what do we do? Well, we connect and we transform and automate data. We move data around, and we've got 3 product lines. FME Desktop, where you author your tools. FME Server, where you then automate and introduce real-time and self-serve. And then this new one. What's this new one?
FME Cloud, and really that's just a new way to deploy FME Server. You'll hear a lot more about that over the coming months, but rather than installing FME Server locally, it's just us hosting FME Server for you, and we take all of this pain away. So we won't dive too much into these now. I think we're going to assume there's a kind of a certain level of knowledge already existing here.
Absolutely. I love FME Cloud. It's a great way to get new server betas, actually.
Yeah.
Start working. So we're going to have a poll here. Stephanie, do you mind launching up that poll? We are interested in those who have FME Server. What version are you using right now? And so we got the different options there.
2011. Ooh.
2011 or previous. You never know.
Yeah, it's not. It was still a good product actually. It was not that long ago.
Oh yeah, no, it's you know, we're already working on 2015, but.
Data distribution, that's what that launch is all about. Right?
All about data delivery, data distribution, exactly. And I think we'll just wait another 2 or 3 seconds, and then we'll close. There we go. And we'll show the results. And
no one on 2012, that's unpopular.
Oh, well, no one on 2012. The 2011, they skip it, and 2013 has the most. But a lot of people on the beta, so that's nice to know.
Good.
Okay, we'll hide those results, and we'll keep going. Thank you, Control. I love saying that. So we're talking today about FME Server, and as I said, it's automation, it's self-serve, and it's real-time data. But if you're looking for an overview in just FME Server, well, hold on. We're strapping. We're deep diving. We're going diving deep. It's hard to say 3 times fast. If you want to have a generic kind of overview of desktop and server, head to this URL, and you can get, every Thursday they do an overview, and they show off all the different products. It's interactive. You can ask questions.
Yeah, it's more like, what is FME Server? How does it interact with desktop? Much lower level, beginner kind of webinar.
Exactly. And so, but here we're looking deep dive into real-time data. And so what is real-time data? A colleague of mine said, oh, you're doing a presentation on real-time. Does that mean 0 latency? And I said, well, does that mean it has to be the speed of light? So there's kind of a spectrum to real-time data, and we look at it in 2 ways based on our technology. The first is the data coming in at less than 1 message per second? We call that kind of event processing. So it's on-demand real-time. We'll start and stop an engine each time to process an event. Then there's this continuous streams of information coming in as fast as you can handle them, greater than a message per second. So starting and stopping workspace doesn't make sense. We have a different methodology, and we're going to go over that during this webinar. So the first one is the events, the event-based real-time. That's using our notification service. You have publications which publish information to FME Server. Then you have subscriptions that take that from FME Server. And of course, in the middle you have a workspace which reads the information. And so what publishers do we have?
Lots.
There we go. And there's a whole list of them there. And
Yeah, so this is how how are you going to get data into FME Server? So we used to talk about data in relation to FME and talk about formats and applications. So what were the old boys? Shape, geodatabase, Oracle.
CAD, DMG.
Now we're starting to talk about sensors, protocols. How do you hook your iPhone up to FME Server? How do you hook your sensor collecting flood data up to FME Server? So we're talking more about protocols and accessing these different streams of data that aren't traditionally tied to a format or a specific application.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the ones we support for getting the data in, like you're saying. Then once the workspace is done, it will send out, again, through a topic to a bunch of other protocols.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and you can see there's lots of protocols there. And, how much code would you have to write to build your own email server? I don't even know where to begin, but it's several thousand lines. So we take that pain away and just allow you to configure all these through the web interface. You want to send an email? Just configure the web form. We want to send a Google push. It's really, really easy. We want to make it as easy as possible for you to send these notifications out.
Absolutely. And so that brings us to our first demo, and Stuart's going to, or Steph, control, can you switch over to Stuart, please?
Hopefully this is seamless.
And I should be able to see.
Show my screen.
Yeah, you want to show your screen?
Great, okay. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about the first scenario is looking at real-time river flow. So the scenario is this: we are constantly monitoring the height of a river, and we're going to do some threshold analysis on that incoming sensor data. We're going to look at the incoming sensor data, and when the threshold goes over a certain value, we are going to use a geofence to select all of the households that are at potential flood risk, and we are going to send an automated phone call to them using FME Server. So we're using a third-party service called Twilio to do that. Now, guess how much back-end code we're going to have to write to do this?
100 lines?
0.
Ooh.
So this is what we want you to think about when we're building these examples. All of the logic is either configured through a web browser or it's in the workspace. So let's take a look at the data here. This is actually a new data set that USGS have just released. Make that a bit bigger there for you. So they've got sites all over North America, all over the USA, continually monitoring things like discharge, and also, here we go as well, gauge height in feet. So this updates, I think, every couple of minutes. It depends which site it is. Sometimes they update a lot more. So this site's in Washington. So we're going to read this XML feed in here, and we're going to access the gauge height in feet. And this is the value down here, so it's 19.01 at the moment. When I did this earlier in the week, it was up in the 20s. So I have a workspace, and that workspace, just the right workspace for you guys. So this is the workspace. It's a very simple workspace. And all it's doing is it's reading in this USGS feed using the HTTP fetcher. I'm stripping down all of the attributes out of the XML that I want. And then what I'm doing is I'm using a test filter. So let me just make this a little bit bigger. So this test filter is doing my threshold analysis. So what it's doing is I'm going to show you how to schedule this workspace in a second. So it runs every 10 seconds. So every 10 seconds, we're going to run this workspace, and we're going to check to see if the height of the river is over 19 feet. We've identified that the height of the river in this fictitious scenario, if it gets over 19 feet, there's a potential flood risk that's going to affect the local community. So what we want to do is we want to alert the local community via a phone call, send an automated phone call to all of the houses telling them there's a flood risk. So we have this household affected by flood transformer here, and what we're doing in here is reading in this flood zone. So this is kind of our geofence story here.
Okay.
So here's our flood zone here that we're reading in. You can see it looks a bit broken there, but this could be a dynamic flood zone as well. We're just really reading in. It's essentially a large geofence. This is any household within this area is at potential risk of flooding at this point in time. So If we go back to the workspace, all we're really doing is reading in the geofence, and then we're reading in a CSV file that contains all of the households. So this is our database, really. We can see it here. It's pretty simple. We've got some safers in there. Imagine there's 10,000 people in here, though. You couldn't really automate a phone call to 10,000 people. So we have the telephone number, and then we have the address, and we've geocoded the address so we have a lat long.
So somebody's come along and manually put in people that need to be updated.
Yeah, so maybe it's a government or something. It's a, they've input this data and they said these people want to receive a notification, and then we simply use the clipper to select everyone that's within the geofence. So we'll just clip in the household database. Everyone within this geofence is going to receive a notification, and then here's the neat bit. We use the HTTP uploader transformer to make a request to Twilio. So just bear with me a second while I just show this bigger. Ooh, there we go. So this is really, there's a huge amount of power here. For those that don't know what Twilio is, it's turned communications into an API. So you can make phone calls and SMS messages via the API. So all we have here is a URL. We love web services, right? And we're passing in the telephone number we want to ring, and the from number, and then some other security things as well. But really the key here is this telephone number. So I'm going to run this, and what this should do is it should, in theory, make a phone call to me automated. So this is using the web service. Okay, great. And then
so a flood
notification warning you that you are serious risk from flooding. Flood levels are currently 20 m below your house and are rising rapidly. It is strongly suggested you evacuate in the next 4 hours.
So I'm not
Flood Warning Agency.
Not too sure about the accent there, but you get the idea. That's all that was an XML file that I passed to Twilio, and I said, Twilio, make the phone call to this number, to these people, and this is what I want you to say in the call. So we could even make that text dynamic. Based on where the user is, we could tell them the flood's 2 feet away or 50 feet away from the house if we knew the vertical. So we can start to get really, really interesting there.
You could text every 10 feet closer. It's worse. It's worse.
Yeah,
it's worse. It's worse.
Or you could send a text to people that are further away and phone call people that are closer.
Okay. So yes, so Twilio does text as well.
Text as well, yeah.
Cool.
So we don't want to solve the problem of phone calls and texts. Let's let other providers do that, and we'll hook into them. So I'm just going to quickly show you now how to publish this to FME Server, because I don't want to sit here going run every 10 seconds. No. I want to automate this. So I'm going to publish to FME Server. So this is an FME Server I have running here within Safe, and this is how easy it is to schedule a job on FME Server. You just go File, Publish to FME Server. You choose the workspace you want to publish. In this case, Flood Twilio, we're going to call it, and we're going to replace that. We're just going to register it with the job submitter service. Click Publish, and now it's up there on the server. It's been pushed up there, so all I need to do now is log into the FME server here, and I can configure the schedule by going into Schedules, and I'm going to click a new schedule here. So let's call it Flood Notification, this schedule. We could enter a description if you want. Let's give it a category. I choose the workspace from the repository uploaded. I say let's start this immediately. Repeat unit is, let's say, we could do it every 10 seconds. It really depends on your data source here. Yeah. If the data source updates daily, then you only probably want to do this every day, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to start this immediately, and we're going to click OK. Except we're not going to click OK because it's going to ring me again if we click OK. So
every 10 seconds because that's the way the demo
stuff. Yeah. So we cancel that now, but that's how easy it is to create a schedule on FME Server, and then you can view all your schedules, remove them, duplicate them, etc., etc. Once you've set that up.
So taking some data, mashing it together, adding geofences into the mix, a threshold value, and then notifying.
Yeah. So it's that threshold's kind of the intelligence there in the scenario. Okay, so it's an interesting little scenario that will be up on FMEpedia shortly. What I want to talk about next is this subscribe, report, and notify workflow. So this is more of a framework than a demo. This is something that you guys might look at and use to build your own demos. So what we can do here is we need to provide a process for people to subscribe to an event.
Yeah.
In the last demo, we just had all the households, but you can't just add phone numbers and people's personal information into a database. You need people to be able to subscribe to an event, because otherwise it's actually against the law in Canada. I can't just sign you up to receive notifications to Aaron that's safe. That's against the law. So we need this kind of confirm, subscribe workflow. Then we need to trigger an event. So this can be done manually by a human. I want to come in here and this is the event I want to trigger, or it can be an automated. So in the last flood demo, the event trigger was actually the flood data with the threshold analysis. So that was our trigger for the geo event. And then here on the right, you know all about this: phone call, email, Apple push, Google push. These are all of the notifications we can send out. So let's have a look at the subscribe workflow. So what we want to do to start with is allow the user to subscribe to an area of interest. So they could do this through a web form, mobile device. I'm going to show you through a web form and how that works. So let's go through the full workflow here. So I like to ski. I like to do backcountry skiing. So this little scenario we're going to do is I'm going to subscribe to receive notifications for an area I plan on doing backcountry skiing in this weekend to see if there's any avalanches in that area. So I am the subscriber, and we're going to use fmeserver@gmail.com. We are going to choose a date range. Well, I only want this notification for the next week.
And then you're done skiing.
And then I'm done my skiing. So let's just do it over this week. Apply that. So yeah, 23rd to the 30th. And here is where am I going skiing. So let's have a look. Let's say we're going up in the Garibaldi Provincial Park. You ever been up there?
I haven't actually.
Beautiful area to hike as well. So I want to know about all of the avalanches in this area here. So I'm subscribing myself, my email address, to receive notifications in this area.
Of course, I could do that, and then...
Yeah, exactly. As many people as they want could do this, but I could sign you up at this point. But now what we're going to do is use FME to send an email to me for me to confirm my subscription.
Okay. So it goes to your email, isn't it?
Yeah, if we look at the PowerPoint here, this form has sent some JSON back to a workspace, and then the workspace is going to send me an email saying, Stuart, do you confirm the subscription? I'm going to confirm the subscription by sending an email back to FME Server, and FME Server is going to load me into a subscriber database to say, these are the list of the subscriptions that are currently valid.
Valid, having confirmed.
So what we should do is we should see here, here's a request for to receive notifications. You requested to receive notifications for this area, for this demo, to this email, for this period of time. You can put whatever you want in here as well. You could put a big smiley face if you wanted, or it's just a HTML that we're building up in the workspace. Anyway, so now I'm subscribed. You could all subscribe as well at home if you wanted. Now I'm going to put the hat on of the CAC, the Canadian Avalanche Centre.
And you would have replied to that email.
You're right, sorry. Yeah, so I need to reply to this email and say, yes, I want to subscribe, click send, and now I'm actually confirming my subscription. Thanks for that, Aaron.
Yeah, you bet. And you can also alternatively have a link you click, or...
Yeah, that's probably more traditional, isn't it, the link? So now what I'm going to do is, let's just do CAC admin.
So now you're a different person. You were an Avalanche person.
I'm an Avalanche person. Yeah, I've been up and I've had a notification that's been a Class 2 Avalanche, which isn't too bad, but it's worth knowing about. And it was triggered by a snowboarder.
Oh, snowboarders.
Snowboarder.
Well, you kind of do both.
Yeah, actually. I do both. So. Love them both. Okay, triggered by a snowboarder on a northeast aspect, something like that. Mm-hmm. So that's the information, the metadata, but And we can put a link in here as well. You could put anything in here as well. You know, this is just a web form,
It's
right?
a form we've invented. Really, you could invent and put as much in there as you want.
And then the event extremity, so, you know, not too bad, class 2. But here's the thing, you know, with an avalanche particular and with lots of events, what's the point in knowing about an avalanche if you don't know where it is? You know, my tour is going to be in this area this weekend. So let's say here we're near Mount Garibaldi. That's exactly where the avalanche was. And I'm going to submit that. So we all good there? So I'm going to submit that. That gets posted back to FME Server as an event. And then we have a workspace which is basically going to run. And this is the report notify workspace. So we send the JSON back, and then a couple of workspaces run, and they essentially, the workspace selects the user within the event geofence. So if you think about it, the user is actually a geofence, because we made the user define an area. So the user is a geofence. So we just say, we take the point and we say select all users that the point falls within their geofence. Yep. And then we're going to send them an email to say there's been a notification. So fingers crossed. This sometimes takes a few seconds, but you see there, web report severity 5. That's the severity. There's been a severity 5 event, class 2 avalanche, and there was a triggered snowboard. And we even created a little Google static map here showing me exactly where the avalanche is.
Just showing off.
Yeah, it's useful to me though. You know, I can say, okay, that's worth following, digging into deeper and understanding.
I noticed there's also an unsubscribe link there, which is
yes. So again, that's the law in Canada. I believe in America as well. You have to provide a way for people to unsubscribe from a subscription.
That's great. Okay,
so let's just do a few little things here. I want to go back and revisit how this HTTP JSON thing works. So the first thing we're going to do is, how do you hook this workspace up to the form?
Yeah.
How do you make the workspace listen to this form? If you wanted to do this programmatically, you'd have to write quite a lot of code. But we provide you a really simple way to allow you to hook a workspace up via the REST API. So when you post on this form, this will be the subscribe form, this submit button sends a REST call back to the notification service. So this is our new beautiful REST API. And this REST API is amazing. You can do everything from configuring security, setting up notifications, to even sending notifications. But we're actually going to use this call here, and we're going to send a raw message to a specified topic. So this allows you, here see I have this avalanche subscribe topic.
Okay.
And so I can send any information. This is a bit silly what we're sending here, but I can send any information to this topic, and then I can have a workspace listening to this topic. So we're going to send more sensible stuff than that. So let's have a look at what that workspace looks like. So the workspace is here. We have the text line reader here, and we're going to process that JSON request. So all I need to do to get this workspace up to FME Server is, again, I need to go File, Publish to FME Server. And again, I'm going to just use this same server. Click Continue. I've already done this before, but I'm going to put it in the repository webinar. Subscription request FMW. And here we want to register it with a notification service. Click Edit. And here you can see which topic do you want to listen on. And even better, which reader do you want to suck the information in on when there's data sent to that topic.
So it's sent to a topic through REST API, and here we're configuring it to make it its way into the workspace.
Exactly, yeah. So no code required. Click OK, click Publish, and it pushes the workspace up to the server, and it registers it with the notification service. And if I come in here under notifications and under subscriptions, because remember it's triggering an event here. So which one are we after here? So it's here Avalanche subscribe, and this is the workspace. So you can see it's auto created a subscription here on the FME server, and this is the workspace that's going to run. It's a URL essentially. So that's how we hook the workspace up. The other thing I want to talk about briefly is how we send the email out. So if we go back to the drawing here, how do you send this email out? How would you do that? If you want to do that yourself, it'd be very, very complicated. But if we look in FME, the workspace here, this send email configuration is dead simple. It's just an FME server notifier transformer. And again, it's sending data to a topic.
Okay.
So if we look what data it's sending this data here, which is email to, who do you want to send the email to, email subject, and also the content of the email as well. So if this probably looks familiar, it's the content that was in the email that I saw earlier. So you can pump as many emails as you want to FME Server, and all we have, again, it's dead simple. You just configure this. We have a subscription on the FME Server, send event email, and it's listening to that EMS notification alert topic. So I could listen to multiple topics here if I wanted as well. And again, I've used SMTP Gmail, so you just need to configure an SMTP server. You can use Gmail, Outlook Live, there's loads of them, Yahoo, they all have support SMTP. And all these bottom values here are going to be overridden by the values in the workspace.
From that JSON.
From that JSON, yeah. So that's how we send an email out. And it's very easy to configure all types of other subscriptions as well, and Aaron's going to show you a few more later. So let's go back to the PowerPoint, and it kind of in review. So this is the framework that you can take and use to build your own event-driven workflows. That's kind of the idea of this little demo. The other thing is, mobile subscribe, report, and notify. Mobile devices are built for data capture, from taking photos to streaming data via UDP to sending data via the REST API. They're inbuilt with location, so it's a very, very powerful data capture device. They're obviously perfect for notifications. I just took a phone call. SMS is great, and also you can do Apple Push and more complicated things if you wish. And also mobile data analysis. This guy is more powerful than my first PC, but it's still not as powerful, and you don't have all the data on here that you can access on the server. So you might want to send your location back to the server, do some complex analysis, and then send results back to the mobile device. So we're really good doing that as well. And no code. I only have to write front-end code, not server-side code, which is always the complicated, messy part.
That's huge. Okay,
so a success story here. This is available on our FME Cloud site. If you want to look further, it's all about mobile data analysis. I won't go into too much detail here, but it essentially sends a point back to the server. There's lots of complex analysis, and a report gets sent back to the iPad, which basically details the bushfire risk for that specific property.
Yeah. And the great aspect of it is that point is sent to the REST API, as we saw with the reporter, and they get immediate feedback in real time. They're on the ground looking at the different risk locations, all driven through FME Server.
Yeah, it's a very, very cool app, is this. And it's powered by FME Cloud.
Oh, too.
Production system powered by FME Cloud.
First one, I believe.
First one, yeah. Okay, so if Steph, controller...
Control, can we load up the
control?
Next poll, mission control? Hey, that's an even better name. So we're interested in which notification methods are you most interested in? We showed email, we talked about some of the mobile stuff, SMS. We didn't put the phone call in.
APNS is Apple Push Notification Service. So these are these kind of notifications you get pushed to your phone, say in Facebook, or the ones that pop down. And GCM is Google Cloud Messenger.
Right.
So they're those kind of,
And SMS is text.
SMS is text, yeah. We're all about the acronym today.
Yeah, absolutely. And we should have put phone call in there.
Phone call. Well, this is the thing, isn't it? You hook into web services, and really, you can. There's nothing you can't do. It's very powerful.
We're going to be supporting OAuth coming up.
Yeah, OAuth's coming as well.
So that's going to be fantastic.
So
email and SMS.
We're going to have to do a blog post on SMS.
We're going to have to show off
Twilio.
SMS.
Yeah.
Twilio.
Very easy.
Twilio. You can also use SNS.
Yeah.
As well.
AWS SNS.
Okay, let's close off that poll. Thank you, Mission Control. And
okay, let's move on then. So we're going to have a look at the Q&A now.
Okay. Devet, do you want to pop up and are there any questions that might be good to ask?
Easy questions.
Yeah. So I've got a couple of questions here that I think are kind of similar. So there's a question about sort of what happens with that flood notification when there's multiple threshold events happening one after the other. You're saying you'll be sent multiple notifications. Do you have kind of a strategy for avoiding that?
Right, that's a great question.
Yeah, I'll be showing that actually, something like that in the next demo, which basically is you want to activate, or you want to wait until you've got one, then you record that in a database as active until a certain period, then you would actually turn that zone back to inactive. And I won't actually be showing that, but basically that's the exact thing we'll need in one of the demos coming up. Yeah, so tracking the status.
Yeah, you basically have to track the stats in a database. Yeah, that's a good point.
Good question.
Yeah, then the other thing's kind of related. The asker of that question left the webinar, unfortunately, because they had to go do something. But the question was about sort of quality control. What if you made some mistake in the workspace here? What is sort of a method for auditing that, for making sure that notifications aren't being sent out when they shouldn't be? Strategy there, or I mean, it's going to be pretty individual to each project, I would assume.
I would say you got to test it. I mean, that's the biggest thing. You have to put in some events manually.
It's like coding, right?
It is.
You test your code, you test your workspace, but you can do things like when you sent an email or make the phone call, you could log out to somewhere at the same time.
Yeah.
So you could create an audit log of the phone calls you've made, or even send an admin an email or something to say, hey, you just sent a phone call. So yeah, you'd have to tie into some other way of doing it, but testing is the best way to do it.
Okay, I think thanks to Vet, I think we'll kick back into the webinar here, and that means, are you up first here? Is that correct?
I believe I am, yeah. So let's have a look.
No, actually, you're not. It's this one first.
Okay, so if we
mission control. Can you switch me into live mode, and I'll take over here. I will show my screen, and do we see it over there? Probably.
Looks good, yeah.
Okay, so went by a bunch of stuff there, Q&A. Now I want to talk about something which is really cool, actually, but it's. Imagine we got an Excel spreadsheet, we're doing some edits to it, and we want those edits to be reflected in the database right away. Well, you might say, okay, well, that's no problem. I can just build a workspace to do that. 'Cause, I'm really good with workspaces. And here's a workspace that does that. It's even smart enough. It does inserts if there isn't a record, or updates if there isn't. It's upserts, yeah. And then you say, well, every time I edit Excel, I'll just hit this play button, right? But you know what? Not good enough. I don't want to hit the play button. I want to edit and forget it.
Yeah.
The trademark Aaron Koenig Incorporated. Edit and forget it. I want the spreadsheet to automatically go and be updated in the database. And so how are we going to do that? Well, FME Server is going to do that. Let's look at how that might happen. Okay, here we've got a spreadsheet. I edit that spreadsheet. There's a directory watcher. It's a new protocol which watches a directory. It detects that there's a change, and then you can write that right into, using that workspace, write the data right up there. So we might think, okay, good, problem solved. But it's not intelligent enough to realize that if we edit this and save it, edit it, save it a number of times, which is a good practice, just saving multiple times, it's going to keep running that translation multiple times. So this approach won't work. We need an even more intelligent approach to dealing with this. And that is to break this into two phases. The first is to track when the files are modified and the last save date, basically. So we edit the file and hit save. That goes to FME Server. We record in a kind of a tracking database the last save date. And we keep doing this over and over again as we edit it. Then we stop editing it for a period of time. Maybe it's 15 minutes or something. A schedule comes along every minute or so, depending on your situation, of course, and checks, when's the last time that file was edited? Oh, it hasn't been edited in 30 minutes. We're going to grab that file and run it in there using the first workspace.
Okay, resynchronize.
We're going to resynchronize in an intelligent fashion instead of just ramming that up every time somebody hits save. This could apply to DWG files you're editing. You could wait till the whole end of the day and then do them all.
Yeah, it would handle thousands of files, right?
Thousands of files just tracked in there. So let's go and actually go through this demo.
Yeah, how does it work?
How does it work? We're going to start. We're going to show you.
How much code did you write? I want to see how much
I
code
wrote zero code. At one point in my life, I could write code. That has gone away from me mostly.
Why need to write code? You don't need to write code.
I don't. I just use workspaces for everything, pretty much. Here's my spreadsheet. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it down here. And what this is it's a project tracking system, really. I'm going to say I repaired. What did I repair? I repaired Windows.
So you're entering some new data here. You're someone out in the field or anywhere on their iPad. They could even be. They're updating the Excel spreadsheet.
So I repaired. What did I do? I repaired some Windows or something. And here's my location. I hit save. And does it go up immediately? It doesn't.
Okay.
Because now we just have to wait here for 20 minutes. No, we don't have to wait 20 minutes. What it does here is it updates this tracking database, and this should say false now. So it's saying it was modified at this date, but it hasn't been updated. Now, one thing I often forget to do is start the schedule, which actually turns it up there. So did I start the schedule?
So using the scheduling again like I was using earlier?
I didn't, but all I have to do is enable this. Enable it. So that would be enabled running all the time. So we wouldn't have to push that button. But this tracking database was instantly updated with a timestamp. I'm not going to resave it. And will this get updated? You have to have faith.
Yeah, so you're resynchronizing now to this. This is your database here on the right. This is a Fusion tables, but it could be Oracle, SQL Server.
And you have to have faith. It takes 30 seconds before, in this case we're saying after they finish saving it. If they don't edit it for 30 seconds, it comes up. And this is where you got to believe, Stuart.
Yeah, I'm believing. We've done well so far. Oh, there we go.
Is it in there? Windows, there it is. So it's synced up via a schedule intelligently after a certain period of time.
Yeah.
So that's how that works. And how does it actually work? Let's look at workspaces, as it were. And I'm going to look at two workspaces very briefly. In here, demos, edit and forget it. I love the name. I made it up myself, of course. Here's the first workspace, which is, well, before I get to the workspace, how's the directory monitor?
Yeah, I'd be interested in that. That's where I'm going to have to think, I need to write code, right, to watch my directory.
Exactly. You don't. You absolutely don't. We come in here to notifications. There's publication. There's the directory watch protocol watching this topic. So you showed the topics quite well. And what it's doing is just sending the files to a topic. We register a workspace to listen, as you did before. That workspace is right here.
Got you.
Receiving in that notification. And what we do in here is we make sure that the extension of this file is Excel, because we don't want to deal with any other files. And Excel is, it's super smart. It saves these temporary files.
Right, yeah.
So we don't want to deal with the temporary files as well. We're smart again, we do an upsert, but ultimately we take a timestamp and we put it into that tracking database and we say, no, it hasn't been synchronized.
Right.
I call it updated, but synchronized to the other database. So that's the continual process every time a file is edited. Then the schedule is right here.
Okay.
Up it comes. So this runs every, however often you want, reads that database that we said the file is not updated, compares and says, is the file has it not been edited for 30 seconds in this case? It could be 30 minutes, whatever. If it hasn't been edited, then we go through and run that initial job that does Excel to Google Fusion tables.
The load, okay.
The one where we had to push that play button.
Yeah.
This is pushing that play button for us. And then, of course, what it does is it clears out anything that hasn't, well, in this case, what it does is it says, true, it's been updated, it's been synchronized. So that's how that whole system works.
So that would be the same as your Twilio, kind of similar workflow to basically how you prevent calls in Twilio from being sent 100 times.
Exactly, you have a tracking database to do that. Yeah.
And the other thing is so that directory mount can be a UNC, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I didn't even mention that, but that directory mount was a UNC. If I look back, thanks for prompting me on that. If I look back to this, I'm using a network file system and I'm watching this directory. This is a network file system, a UNC path. If I look, just to make it so you can see, deep dive into our FME server config file. We want to expose this through the web interface, but for now, you can define a UNC path right here. That becomes this resource folder here.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the power. And watch this space for Google Drive, S3, Dropbox, and being able to mount and watch those folder systems in there as well.
Yeah, and that's actually brings us to the poll question. Let's.
Yeah, this will help. You're going to help us with our development here. The next poll question.
So we can watch UNC, like you're mentioning. That's an SP2 feature, being able to watch UNC directories. We can watch just the resource folders themselves. But what other storage systems and mission control? Can you load up that poll? What other services do you want to watch? And do we see them on your side there? I think S3 is an option. Dropbox. Oh, that's nope, that's the wrong poll. Let me jump back and let's see. Oh, we don't have this one. Okay, we're going to skip the question, but let me talk to it. Basically, it's too bad we don't have that one in there, but what it is basically is we're going to be able to watch S3,
yeah,
perhaps Dropbox, perhaps Gmail.
Just chat in the chat if you want to scream about one that you want. Say, hey, I want S3, or I want to watch Dropbox, or I want to watch Box.com, or whatever you're working with. That's
a good idea. Throw in the chat which one you're interested in, and that will help us out quite a bit.
Crack on anyway, haven't we?
We're going to crack on into stream-based real-time, as I say, and this is really the ability to lock directly onto a stream of information. Lots of features coming in, either via TCP/IP or WebSockets, or Stuart's going to show a cool example. And the engine never stops because you're receiving messages in such a fast fashion. So
yeah,
flip over to you.
Flip over to me.
Mission control.
And yeah, so this is our second type of real-time processing, I guess we call it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to show this really quick here, but what we've got is a workspace, a very simple workspace here that reads in data from this tweet streamer. So that's just a hose from Twitter, basically, pumping data into a workspace of all the tweets currently happening in the world. So we can handle huge volume here. We're flattening the data, and then we're doing a test to say, does the tweet have location? Most of them don't. So we want to look at just the tweets with location, and then all we're doing is creating a point. We're creating a piece of JSON that has the lat long in it, and then we're pumping the data out to the web browser using this WebSocket sender transformer. So I guess this is like real-time out, not just real-time in.
In and out.
Exactly. And the end result is this map that I didn't have to write any server-side code for, that gives me a real-time like of all of the tweets coming in.
A heat map. Sure.
Yeah, it's a heat map using the Google Maps technology. And yeah, you can see it depends. It's real-time currently, so lots going on in England. As the time gets later in the day, it starts to shift across America, and Europe starts to get quieter. So I think I'll leave that at that.
Okay.
There's a blog post on that. You can check out the workspace. And we'll switch back over to Aaron, who's going to talk about how we add a bit more intelligence to that processing.
So we'll get Steph to switch us back over.
Keeping her busy there.
Keeping her busy. And back into the slide. So that was, where are we here? Slides. Okay. So that was Stuart showing, real-time into the workspace, real-time out of the workspace. But this is all about intelligence, this webinar. And so we want to talk about now adding business rules to something like this. And that's a common example is if there are a number of events or reports that happen in a given area, in a geofence, within a certain duration, then we'll notify. So it's number of occurrences within a given time period. That kind of logic we want to add into. And somebody that has had success with this and who's actually on the call right now, or on the webinar right now, is Pelmerex, the weather network known in Canada for providing awesome weather related information.
Yeah,
I use them
good iPhone app.
Yeah, for sure. And what do? They've got a bunch of postal codes across Canada, and they have a whole lightning network across, sensor network across Canada. And as the strikes are coming in, they're determining if there's significant activity. And what is significant activity to them? It's a number of lightning strikes within a given area within a certain duration. Again. If that happens, then they go off and they activate the zones, basically.
Gotcha.
And then they will deactivate them later on if there is no lightning for a while.
All automated. Yeah. Okay.
All automated, no server-side code. So now I want to take this idea and apply it to somewhere a little closer to home, which is Vancouver. And here I've got the zones for these are the town centers really, town center boundaries for Vancouver. And we can imagine these are our geofences, and we're interested only if there's a certain number of events, a threshold number, as you said earlier, in a given duration.
Right. Yeah.
So it could be lightning sensors,
break-ins.
It could be people tweeting that are saying, "Hey, there's a bomb here" or something. Maybe I don't know something. Maybe it's nicer. Hey, here's a free barbecue or something. It could be these sensors where actually you're moving the sensors around regularly. And they have a GPS on them, so you don't have to track them manually. They'll report their location.
Fancy slide, yeah. Okay.
Did you like that?
Like that.
I spent all night on that one. And then, of course, more and more we're getting mobile devices which are reporting in, and maybe they're reporting traffic problems, for example.
Yeah.
And so I'll keep working with the traffic problem thing. We're going to go and we're going to look at, again, it's a two-step process. You have to track what's required for a certain period of time, just like that other demo, and then you have a schedule which will actually deal with implementing the logic. So here we go. We've got the reports coming in. It could be whatever kind of report you want. The geofence coming in, combining, determining what zones have reports in them, and then storing the zone and the time that there was of that incident in the zone into the tracking database.
Gotcha, yeah.
Pretty straightforward. So that thing's always running, locked on, receiving events. And then we've got the second one coming along, this workspace scheduled, which looks at the tracking database and goes, hey, has there been enough reports in a zone within that time period? If there are, there's the rule they're evaluating. If there are, then they're going to send out a notification.
Gotcha, yeah. So I see a theme with this two-tier workspace, one for handling the real-time pumping data in, and then the scheduled one for doing the intelligence and the analysis.
Exactly.
It's good.
Exactly. So I'm going to start up in FME Server's web interface. I'm going to start a job that never ends.
Okay.
It's like the song that never ends, although we're not going to sing that today.
No.
No singing. That was vetoed by Stephanie, said we couldn't sing, so that's okay. So now I'm running this job, and what is it doing? It's locking on via TCP/IP to this incoming feed, and we can actually see this feed. I don't actually have a lightning network or anything.
No, this is a fake sensor.
It's a fake sensor.
But TCP/IP is very common protocol for sensors to pump data out of.
Exactly. And so here we see basically just lat-long reports flying through, and they're going into the workspace. Since this never ends, I just go home and go away. But the main part here coming up is, am I getting emails? Which are my notifications? Yes, I am. And here's one says, I think there's a problem in the Sunset Town Center, and it's saying, yes, there were 42 reports in the last 10 seconds. So we've got a really tight window.
Yeah, something's happened. There's a riot.
There's a riot. It's Vancouver's unhappy about Stanley Cup, perhaps, and it'll keep reporting. Here we're reporting over and over again. This is where we could activate the zone and then not report until it.
Yeah.
So in this case, we just keep going. So let's take a look at how that works. We'll let that thing keep pushing through, but basically we've got a couple workspaces at play here.
Of course, yeah.
We've got the first one, which is, let me find it. There we go. Lots going on. Process reports. Open it up.
On the Mac, nice.
On the Mac, and we use a combination of Windows and Linux and servers, so it's pretty cool. We pull in those town center boundaries, send them over to the spatial filter. One thing about the spatial filter to keep in mind is you have to set it into filters first mode.
Right.
Which otherwise it's a blocker. It means it will never release anything until it receives all upstream data.
Right.
And since we're in real time receiving nonstop, that never happens.
Yeah.
So we set filters first. Technical detail there, but important. And over here we've got the TCP/IP receiver.
Just
receiving in those,
pump that data in.
Flying in there. We're making actual points out of it by breaking down the message into X and Y. Spatial filter does the intersect, and then over here, if we come over here, then we take a timestamp, and we know the zone now, and we throw that into the database. At this point, we don't even need anything related to spatial. We've already done that up here. We're just storing zone and timestamp.
Mm-hmm.
If you have more than a few zones, like this is just less than 100 zones, but if you have thousands, you might want to use the feature reader. In fact, you'll have to, which sends the request down to the database, and then the database would do the intersect,
Right.
which is faster,
more performance. I see.
higher performance. But that's only if you have thousands. If you
Or
only,
you could get a honking great big FME cloud machine.
you could actually, if you got the, what do you have?
Enterprise, yeah, 16 core machine for $8 an hour. A little bit of advertising there.
Wow. I was going to call it the ultimate extreme machine, but it's Enterprise, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
And then what's the thing we do? We have one here that a schedule that comes in, looks at that table that has the messages, pulls the messages out, determines, hey, what's the occurrence count per zone?
Gotcha.
Is it greater than 25, which is our rule? We just put that in place.
Yeah.
If it is, then we're going to send an email. If it isn't, we're not going to send an email. But either way, we're going to come along and clean out.
Right, you're sorting the database out here, yeah.
Anything that's older than 10 seconds,
gotcha.
Blowing it away, because the timestamp that we create over here, if we look, we're using a little Python to create a timestamp.
Okay. Oh, there's not much there. I'll let you off.
Not much. Oh, you're going to let me off here?
I'll let you off.
The current time minus 10 seconds. That's our rule. And so that's how we're doing the notification, the brains of this workspace right there.
Okay.
Okay, so back to it. And we're getting close here to...
We're now to send an email, of course, because I showed you that earlier, and it's exactly the same methodology.
Same with the schedule, creating the schedule, so you've seen that, building onto it. Now we're going to look at a poll. This is the last poll. Let's get Mission Control there to fire up that poll.
If she can fire it up, because she's already closed it. We'll see.
Can you open it twice?
Technology allows. Oh, yeah.
You do.
Oh,
and some people have voted already, which is fantastic. You can't, I don't know if you can vote twice, but if you can, there we go. So this is really, with this dedicated engine mode, being able to lock onto a stream and push that out and always keep lots and lots of messages flowing through your system. What are you interested in?
I'm interested in WebSockets the most, actually, because it's interesting. All of the companies out there who've built services like Twilio, all of these companies, they're all starting to provide services through WebSockets as well that you can suck onto. You have SendGrid and these ones, so all they're called webhooks as well, so it's quite interesting.
Very cool. Things like Gmail and Facebook, they work through, will work through WebSockets. They're still using older technology now. But, okay, we showed those results. Did we show them?
Yeah, we showed them, yes, so that was it. Yeah,
okay.
WebSockets was far out in front.
Okay, and TCP/IP was interesting as well. That's the end of the demos, and we're going to jump into now just kind of the wrap-up here.
Yeah, we're wrapping up.
And here we've got a number of demos and tutorials to make you aware of on FMEpedia, including a live spatial dashboard which has WebSockets in it, actually, a number of things. A tutorial on doing email, tutorial on WebSockets, directory watching, so you can go and walk through, step through some tutorials there to learn more. And of course, there's a course that covers all three of these topics as well.
Free course, yeah.
Look at that. It's almost like we knew that was coming. It's totally free. What do we charge? Not zero.
Zero.
Coming up in May, July, September, you can see there, and we'll have Laura doing quite a few of those courses and might sneak a few different people in there. So check that out.
And at the UC as well, I believe, we're running this.
We are running at the user conference.
Yeah.
We should plug that, and we don't have a slide for that.
Vancouver in 10th of June.
Second week of June.
Yeah.
Yep. Come on up there. Over 70 presenters.
Yes.
And which means we don't have to do much presenting. But then the fourth day, it's a 4-day thing. The fourth day is the training.
Right.
And you get to pick from server and database and a whole bunch of other things. So good plug there on the user conference. It's going to be awesome. 20th anniversary, actually.
Wow, yeah.
And then continuing the technical webinar series, we did automation, videos on YouTube. We've done this one now. We're going to look at self-serve in June, which is more about data distribution, the ability to do things on your own without having to know much about FME.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we're going to get into some really cool stuff, developing for data transformation and looking at how you can really interact, use that REST API.
Yeah,
excited
for that one.
Show off the server playground we're going to have and stuff like that. Okay, so at this point, we turn it over and see if there are questions. And
It's Devet there.
let's bring Devet. He hasn't headed back to South Africa, hopefully. No, there he is.
Yeah.
So do you have any questions to throw our way?
Just got one here, kind of wondering about a few more details about the tweet streamer demo there. Whether storing the tweets in the database or how that's working exactly, or maybe if there's just a resource for some more information about that.
Yeah, so we don't store the tweets in the database. There's a lot of data coming in. You're talking, megabytes of data a minute coming in. So you could store it in the database and then do some analysis on it, and that would be very interesting, actually. You could start doing analysis based on hashtags and location.
Yeah.
But what I would do is I would use a NoSQL database to store those tweets. Mm-hmm. So something like DynamoDB on Amazon, Hadoop, I think, on Azure. So you don't want to store in a relational probably just because there's so much data, and the NoSQL database will let you just pump endless data in and get really quick, fast queries against that data.
Yeah.
And we have a DynamoDB writer for Amazon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's made for big data, so for sure. I see a question here. UNC Directory Watcher is in 2014 SP2, and yes, it is. It is in SP2, which is going to be released here maybe in the next month or so. We never know.
SP2, yeah, I think it's coming in May, is it? Yeah.
May, okay. So
Yeah,
that'll
the
be
end of May I saw.
end of May, perfect. And that's the ability. We've always had the directory watch, but now the ability to look at UNC paths, that's coming in SP2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, not seeing any other.
Looks like people are interested in one person in Google Drive, another in Dropbox.
That's good, yeah.
Interesting, okay. Nobody interested in Box.com, but actually we know some people are interested in that
commercial one, isn't it? Yeah.
It is a bit more commercial.
Okay, well that's good. Actually maybe just pop onto the last slide and say, before everyone heads off, if you have any more questions that are in more detail, or you want demos, or we like to do demos because our product's quite complicated. It's a lot easier than coding, but it still takes some ramp up. So Devet, Aaron, all of us would love to do demos with you. So if you want to email support safe or even our personal emails on there, we can set up a demo for you and walk through your scenarios.
Absolutely. Yep. And if you haven't met Devet before, there he is. He's our newest member of our server team, and he's been doing a lot of questions and answering a lot of things, and I think we got to hit the support queues right after this session.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well I think that's everything.
All right. I think we'll end it off. So there you go. There's real time.